was in phenomenal amounts of debt. I don't think I ever earned more than 20,000 up until the age of 30. I had absolutely no idea what to do.
Georgie Frost is editor-at-large at Times Money Mentor and one of the hosts of the Daily Mail's This Is Money podcast. I didn't know, in my 20s up to my eyeballs in debt, basically homeless, that all of that would lead me to here. It's the most valuable lesson I've ever learned, but I would never want my son to go through that.
I didn't start a business till I was 35. I, had nothing in my £1,500 in my pension when I was 31. It's not too late.
You are a finance journalist, but you started as a sports journalist.
Yep.
You're a Derby fan as well, is that right?
I'm a Derby season ticket holder, but
yeah.
Don't link that to my sports journalism
No.
because it's not a pleasant watch to go and watch Derby every other week. But yes, I started my career as a sports journalist in the North East.
How did you make that leap from sports journalism to finance?
Do you want the short version or the long version?
No, I mean, we're here for an hour,
All
so
right,
we've
great.
got to pad it
Settle in. No, so I was a jobbing sports reporter in the North East, and I just sort of started my career, and I had quite a major back injury. I had a slip disc that then burst and cut a feeling down my leg. I've really gone hard early, haven't I? With a really optimistic story. So anyway, I sort of jogged along for a few years like that, but I was left in chronic pain. I had a back operation, and basically it was a consultant that said, if you don't stop driving, which as a sports reporter is pretty key, you will end up in a wheelchair by the time you're 40. So at the time I was in Manchester, and I thought, well, that's no good, is it? I'm going to go home, go back to the south and get myself a proper job, like in PR, which anyone who knows me, I couldn't sell beer to an alcoholic. I'm so poor. So anyway, I came down south to get this proper job. And while I was there, I did this month-long residential course. The timings coordinated on how to learn to live life in pain. It was an input at St Thomas's Hospital, and
That's a course.
A course.
That's
it's a residential.
That's a crazy thing to learn.
NHS, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, imagine it. It's like the most unergonomically whatever chairs. I mean, these are nothing in comparison. All sat round. It was, a bunch of people that you wouldn't probably cross paths with normally. I met all sorts of people there, and we all got this one thing in common, and that is we have tried everything, basically. I mean, I remember the darkest moment. I've really gone hard early, haven't I? Darkest moment in my life was when I was sat round, bear in mind, she sat around with all these people, all struggling in pain. And a doctor was like, why haven't you, what have you tried? What have you tried? And we were like, TENS machines, surgery, drugs, etc. And the board filled up. And then all of a sudden she went, why is there so many? And I went, because there's no cure.
None of them work.
Like panning in, and I thought, my God, there is no cure. So for, 6 years, I'd been jogging around thinking it's my fault. I need to pay more on, Pilates or chiropractor, or maybe next year if I just, and you don't earn a lot as a sports reporter. And I didn't really have the confidence or the ability to get a full-time job. I was in pain all the time, and I thought, wow, now my life has to change. And at that same time, I was actually freelancing as a sports reporter at BBC London. A job came up, and it was for basically, I remember it as, I'm sure it wasn't this, but anyone who knows anything about radio. And I was like, I know about radio. I'll get my proper job in PR while I look for it, but I know something about radio. Anyway, I got in contact with them, and it turned out they were starting a brand new radio station. It was called Share Radio. And it transpired it was a finance radio station. And I remember they called me up because I was like, yeah, maybe I can help out. And they were like, we want to put you as a presenter. Oh, okay, cool. As the investing show. And I thought, oh my God, are you kidding me? I don't know anything about this. I mean, I didn't know really anything about finance at all. I was in phenomenal amounts of debt, bearing in mind, I don't think I ever earned more than 20,000 up until the age of 30 because of my back. I couldn't work full time. I was paying all this stuff to try and get help for my back, et cetera, et cetera. So I remember saying to my mates, so apparently there's a job going as a finance, presenter. They did eventually say personal finance and consumer. And my mates were like, you kidding? You know nothing about finance. So I don't know, maybe a moment of chutzpah or something. I went, yeah, all right, I'll do it. And they kept saying, oh, do you want to have a like show reel, a little test? Yeah, I kept pushing them off. So the time I actually went live was the time they launched. They were obviously really desperate. Anyway, so I had this 4-hour daily finance show. And I remember some of the first interviews like, so pensions. Tell me about pensions. How'd you get involved in that? I mean, literally, I had no idea. 4 hours you've got to fill, and you've got 25 minutes with a guy who knows about pensions. And I was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing in the world. Anyway, 18 months later, fast forward, and I was named Headline Money's Financial Broadcaster of the Year. And it taught me lots of important lessons, but one of them was what you think could be your greatest weakness could actually be your greatest strength. And I think what resonated, and I think how you guys resonate and whatever, is there's realness there. I came with experience. I wasn't patronising people. We all know that the city, and it still does this, speaks in jargon. You know, it's very exclusive. The White Towers of the city. You're not part of this. And I was like, I back myself. I'm intelligent. I'm just not engaged. And it reminded me of when I was little, and I was a mad sports fan, obviously. But most of my friends were girls and they weren't interested. And I was like, well, then it's my responsibility to find a way. And if it's David Beckham in his underpants, right, I'm going to find a way to make you interested in what I'm interested in. And that kind of became my raison d'etre. And that's a really long-winded way of saying how I got into finance. Have we used up an hour yet? Or So there you go. The rest is history.
How's your back now?
It's still the same. Like
You can't drive still?
No, I had an operation. I drive. I'm not a very good driver, but that's got nothing to do with my back. But I did stop driving for 5 years and I didn't run either. And then it got to the age of I definitely had a midlife crisis. I'm confident I'd been about 40. And I was like, I'm going to do a 10K run because I like the medals. I was like, that's cool, validate me. And so I saw it on Instagram. Most people just buy lipstick or whatever. I bought a 10K run in London and then got a bit of a buzz for it. So I've done maybe like 5 half marathons in a couple of years that I've been doing it. I've sort of tailed off a bit this year. This is a rest year. But I was like, it's amazing what people tell you that you can't do. And look, this is not health advice, this is not financial advice, but like, you know yourself better than anybody else. And I do think this extends to finance to a certain degree, is people will tell you things, you will listen to things and you will hear this advice, but actually you always have to know yourself and apply it to you. What works for you? People will pigeonhole you. People will tell you can't do something, you should do something. Have the confidence of your own convictions to go, do you know what? Let's try this.
When my mum was in school, they were like, maybe you should be a nurse because it's really hard to be a doctor. And then she's like, no, screw you guys, I'm going to be a doctor. And then she was like the only doctor from her class. And then now she's like a really big doctor. So she always told me like, don't let other people's views kind of pigeonhole you or like stop you from achieving what you think you can achieve.
Similar situation. My mum is a doctor.
Yeah.
And she was also, when she was Brighton, they were like, but she's a woman of a certain age. And it's like, that just didn't happen.
Yeah, they were
she was like, nah.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. Because obviously they were like, mainly men doctors back then. So she was like, oh.
Yeah, people always like to me like, how did you become a YouTuber? So I tried. I actually gave it a go.
Did you? Like what? Because there's a part of me that, and I've complained about this before, is that, not complained, but finance journalists will moan about finfluencers. And I say, all right, if you've got a problem with it and you've got the knowledge, which, we do, we do have the knowledge, like, well, you do it. But there's something that's like, I don't know, what is holding all of these people back? What was it? How were you able to go, do you know what? I'm going to stick a camera in my face and I'm going to feel like I have the confidence to say to people whatever you want to tell them.
Naivety and desperation.
Love that. Yeah. That's drivers.
Naivety around the fact of like how hard it is to make content. When you've never made it, you think, oh, how hard can it be? Your peers probably are too aware of how hard it is to make good content.
Oh my God. The first thing I would say is, when young people say to me, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up, I was like, do you have any idea how hard that is? I know I've done hard yards in my career. You work with so many
people. You've got a light sky only, whereas I'm like, I'll just bang a light in my face. And do you know what I mean? You're too exposed to the machine, and you see all the elements of these massive corporations that employ hundreds of people that it feels too complex. For me, it was just, I'll just use my iPhone, and I got to 80,000 subscribers on that. And then desperation of, that kind of quiet desperation of I hate my life. I want something different. When I say hate my life, I mean I'm unfulfilled in what I do. I feel like I've got more in me.
But you had a well-paid job at the time, which is kind of
that doesn't mean anything. I mean,
it does mean a lot to like embark on something when you've got a well-paid job. Like a lot of people, I want to follow my dream to make more money, or because this is what I want to do. But like, or I want more money. But like, if you're comfortable, it's harder to like branch out.
My uncle describes me as a risk taker, but I don't think I'm a risk taker. I just think, like, to me, the biggest risk was being miserable doing what I was doing.
I think that you're touching on something that's just really resonating with me a lot at the moment. So I don't mind saying I'm quite open about this, but I tried to have kids. I couldn't have kids. I failed, had IVF, didn't work. And I'm coming out off the back of that at this present moment and thinking, purpose. And we were talking on our podcast, This Is Money podcast, the other day about, what would happen if you won the Euro billions or whatever it is. And we were saying the most important thing is that you have a purpose, because you read a lot about these very rich people that are very depressed and stuff, because once you have all the money in the world, you've got, what's there to worry about? So you probably go in on yourself a little bit. Like, why am I here? What's the point? And I always think, my parents must be thinking, self-indulgent. But actually, I do think it's really important when you feel like, and you have a gift, and you found that gift. And I think that's really important. And I'm someone who's done a job that I love my job. I'm so fortunate. Who said it that, if you find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I mean, look, I work, right? But, it is so fulfilling. But there is a point, I think, where people feel nowadays, especially, and I don't know what it was like living in the olden days, but like that you need that purpose.
Yeah.
So when you say, I hate my life, I don't know, I take that with a pinch of salt, but you say, my life wasn't fulfilling me in what I was doing at the moment. And I think more and more people are thinking that way. And while I hear, and I link this to the argument about, things were better in the past because you had your DB pensions, you had your job for life, you could buy house prices at, multiples of, twice your income, whatever. Okay, yeah, look, there's no doubt about that. But actually the choice now that you could do something that fulfills you, the choice now, especially as women, you didn't get access to credit cards to like 1976 or something. The choices that we have and the opportunities, I think, are so much greater to do things which have meaning and purpose for us. So that's my argument.
Yeah, the average person will have 12 jobs. That's like 12 choices they've made. Whereas my grandparent, the job they got on 18 was the job they died with, basically. Yeah. They went just so they could secure that pension because they were basically just waiting for this DB scheme. And did they love that job? Like the thing I did at 18, I wouldn't like doing now.
It's the thing you said about that fear of, could this be the life I lead?
That's a luxury to be able to ask myself that, though.
Forever.
That's a luxury to be able to have that and act on it.
But you say that, yes and no. Yes, it's a luxury. I get where you're coming from. But I think we should all be able to say, is this the life that I want to lead? Don't get me wrong, we can't all just head off and live a life of whatever, retreat in Bali or something. But my dad had this saying when I was little, that every day should be a holiday. Even if you have to do a job that is not that fulfilling for you, you do have hours outside to make sure that there are things that you can do. We've all done bump grind work. Oh my word, we've all done bump grind work. But make sure that every day has that little bit of joy, a little bit of purpose, a little bit of drive, something to move you forward. And again, you could argue the same thing with savings. Save a little bit now. Just have that focus on the fact that I just couldn't. I recently bought a house, right? First house at 40. And I sort of asked myself, I've got 2 dogs. Could I see myself as like a Surrey dog mum for the rest of my life at 40? No, not even. So already I'm like, right, where next? Yeah. It's taken me this long to buy a house. Which then leads me on to this idea that we have to have this, like, this is your linear path for life. No more. Have you read The 100-Year Life? There's a book called 100-Year Life. There's actually a new one that says that actually, because we're all living longer, we're all not just going to have like different jobs, but different careers. And maybe like in our 40s, we're going to have a gap year, and gap year. But actually, that is the way that we need to think about things like differently, because the world has massively changed.
I think that I've got a few chapters in me. I think what I do in my 50s will be vastly different. I'm not even comfortable sitting here going, I'm going to be like the David Attenborough of personal finance. I don't like that I just be this guy that goes until I'm 80, 90.
Right, I wondered where that was going.
Well,
there.
I mean,
was like,
and
as you see, the bank.
Yeah.
Into that, I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like this, like, or Martin Lewis, he's that guy, right? And I'm thinking, well, maybe I might get to 45 and go, oh, I want to start playing some music, or I want to do this, I want to do that. Yeah, I feel.
So a sports journalist, 10 years, finance, is now 11 years. Ooh, squeaky bum time. And then I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to do when I grow up? You know?
Yeah.
And then after that, what am I going to do when I grow up? You know, so I'm studying at the moment. I'm studying to do financial advisor exams. I do not want to be a financial advisor, right? But I think
RO1 and all that. Are you doing the CII stuff?
I'm doing the IBF one.
Okay, yeah.
Bore chat.
Boring.
I know, right? Bore. But I was like, I think this is, you know, I have been someone who's been in debt. How to get out of debt. The first thing I'd always say is invest in yourself. And you never, ever know what could come of the things that you do. You didn't know when you started that first on screen. You probably had a dream of where that might have gone. Someone had said to me 15 years ago before I became a financial journalist, by the way, you'll be a multi-award winning financial journalist. You know, sat here at a table with a couple of lads talking about finance. I would have been like, you're in a laugh. I think we kind of box ourselves in and forget the potential of what we could achieve if we don't just try.
Yeah. I didn't know, like in my 20s, up to my eyeballs in debt, basically homeless, that all of that would lead me to here and give me the kind of perspective and humility that I need to speak to people.
How do you find that experience? Because I've been sort of reflecting on that time where I was effectively, you know, sports journalist with a dodgy back, couch surfing. I'm wondering how that's affected me now towards the way I view my career and life and fear around money.
Yeah. Do you have like a scarcity mindset at all, or do you think it's going to disappear, or are you?
No, I would like to have that in some regard. I would like to think that I'm like, it's all going to go, so I'm going to shovel. I mean, I have shoveled into a pension, but that's probably more to do with the fact that I have a dodgy back and I want to make sure that, you know, in my latter years, I may need a bit of extra support. And so that was my main focus. But I don't. I have a real live for the moment, you know, try and enjoy my life, which goes back to the Surrey dog mum thing, right?
I need more of that. I save an outrageous amount of my
which
percentage.
In
it's like
itself
90% of everything I bring in is tucked away.
Which is, you know, people talk about problems with money, and yes, overspending is a problem with money, but I also think underspending.
I have a problem with money.
Is a problem as well. There's a happy balance there. But if I was to look at my life now, and again, this is my argument with renting and buying and whatever. Yes, 40 is quite late to buy a house.
Not if you're living in London and not in.
Well, that's true.
Not in 2025.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe
I have lived all around the country.
Maybe 15 years ago, but like, yeah, today I don't think a lot of my friends. I haven't bought. Lots of my friends. Damo just bought, and he's a big dog, and he's just bought. So. And
if you're alone, it's even harder. And I'm hearing stories from young people saying, "Oh, but I have to get in a partnership and buy a house, otherwise I'll never get on the property ladder." And I'm thinking, you're 27 years old. And you're hitching your wagon to someone because you want to buy a property. Whoa, the red flags. I want to press that button. Why are you doing that? Thank you. You do not have to do that right now.
No.
Like, I think about the good and the bad, right? I've spent like 4 months in Spain. You know, renting can afford me to do that. I can just leave. I've had to escape bad relationships. Bam, I can just go. I don't have to worry about mortgages and what's going to happen in selling the house, etc. I've lived in places central London, that I wouldn't have ever been able to afford to buy, and had an absolutely phenomenal time. I've moved around the country to work at, you know, the BBC all over the country. I've been able to do things because I've rented that I wouldn't be able to do if I'd have bought. And I hate this idea that you have to do something one way. No, you absolutely don't. Okay, people say, you know, okay, I've been paying off someone else's mortgage. Yes, and I do think the rental market in the UK needs to be fixed. It's ridiculous how much people are paying in rent. That old argument of, oh yeah, you rent to save money to get a deposit. Rent's more expensive than paying your mortgage right now. And that, I think, is a shame. And we really, as a country, need to look at the way that renting works in the UK. However, I would urge anyone, I didn't start a business till I was 35. I didn't earn over 20,000 until I was 30. I, had nothing in my £1,500 in my pension when I was 31. It's not too late.
And look at the amortization of a mortgage. The first few years you're paying just interest anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So this
My
idea
first
that,
mortgage statement was like...
yeah, you're like, only 10 has come off the balance, but I paid £1,000 or whatever. And people, there's still an exchange. It's better when you're retired to own a home because you don't want that outlay when you're not producing an income. But the thing that people forget when they rent is you do get something for the rent. You get a house, like you say, and people don't go, I'm renting a phone off someone else when it's on a contract. They look at the utility of the thing. And like you said, there's loads of utility to renting, flexibility.
Don't have to worry about if something breaks or if you need to leave quickly, or think about the job that you could go for.
The wealthiest people I know rent because they don't want to have to fix the pool or they don't because it's like the tiling costs 50 grand, and if they crack a tile they're like, oh god, no, I've got to source it from Italy. They don't so
You've got a hot tub.
Oh, nice.
Same with the house.
You ready to use a second-hand hot tub? Just jump right into that.
Do you know what?
A bit crusty.
I've
got to dump all that
It took me a
water.
year and a half. You've no idea how much chlorine is involved.
Yeah. Why did they leave it behind? Do you know what I mean? They're like, that one's
Trust me,
written
these
off.
things are massive. There's absolutely no way you could get this out of the house.
So T, recently we had a conversation with tax expert Dan Needle, and I think one thing that became very apparent is you're going to have a real big crypto tax bill.
I am.
What are you going to do with the money, mate? Where are you going to put it?
I don't know. Like every year tax season comes around and I'm stressing. I'm like, how much is my bill going to be?
I'll tell you how I do it. What's important for me is that money, that tax money, is completely separate to every other bit of money in my life. Because otherwise I start counting it as mine. I start locking it away in the stock market or whatever. So I use a tied instant saver account. That's just attached to my business, and I just put the money in there and keep it in there, and that's solely for the tax.
You can just ping it over to tax man when it's tax time.
I just know it's allocated for, and the stress that takes off me is worth its weight in gold.
Every January I'm stressing.
Check that out, mate. We've got a bit here actually about how you can check it out yourselves. I'll let you read it out because you're the best at reading.
I mean, I'm the star reader of the show. If you're a sole trader or company owner, check out Tide. New members can get up to 4% AER variable for 6 months. I say up to because it depends on how much you deposit in your account. The more you save, the higher the rate.
You can get this deal, plus you can get £100 cash back if you fund your Tide Instant Saver account with £5,000 in the first 30 days. You get that by using the code MAKINGMONEY. Terms and conditions apply. The code is Making Money, all one word, and you'll find the full terms and conditions and all details of the offer in the description below. The variable rate is correct as of the 7th of August 2025. I want to go back to that moment that you were in debt. You said that you were in debt because of the medical treatments, or was it more than that?
So, why was I in debt? One, I was, at the time that it happened, I was sort of mid-20s, I was on about 18,000 as a sports journalist, sports broadcaster, which is actually, at the time, was standard. I think about it now, I think, ooh, I was living in the Northeast, which helped. And then I was out of work or on and off for about a year. So I didn't have any income. I had absolutely no idea what to do. And I remember I went to Citizens Advice, and I say this with love and respect for Citizens Advice and what they do. And I really hope the guy was joking. But he said, have you thought about having kids? Because you're more likely to get help. And I thought, not with a bad back, no. So that was my experience. I tried to sort of navigate the benefit system, and it was so horrendous. Like, my hat's off to anyone who can work it out. It was horrible that I didn't bother. So I was too proud to ask anyone for help. Because I went to private school. I was fairly sensible. Unfortunately, my parents were going through a very, very, very bitter breakup at the time. So I didn't want to sort of like burden them. I wasn't speaking to my dad. Oh, we've really got deep, haven't we? Get on the couch. So yeah, I had no one to sort of talk to about it. So I did what most normal people do, probably badly, use my credit card. And this was the credit card, which, careful kids, don't do what Auntie Georgie did here. When I went to university, first year freshers, if you signed up to a credit card, you got a free football. Which I did, of course. No idea where the football went.
Free football.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so, yeah, that debt on that credit card hung around a lot longer than that football, I tell you. I know, it's shameful.
I did the same thing in
Right.
Freshers Week. They stuck loads of credit card things through the door, and I'm like, I don't have a credit card. Let me get one, and then I just ran it up.
But the thing is, I had never used it.
Yeah,
I didn't.
you just use it for the debt.
It was just when I needed, and I had the debt to sort of live life and pay. So that was like a few years later. And I remember finally getting to the stage, I was in Manchester, finally getting to the stage where I paid it off. Because it wasn't that big at the time. And I was on the phone to the credit card company and they said, "Are you sure? Are you sure? It might just be good for you to have it just as emergencies." And so bearing in mind, I was like, I don't know how old I was, whatever, late 20s. And I had just needed it for emergency. I said, all right, then fine. And I kept it. And then the debt just went like that. So, yeah, it was a mixture of pride, ignorance, lack of knowledge, exactly, and just not getting paid.
Was there a turning point that helped you kind of change? How did you get out of it? Like, was there a turning point that made you say, okay, I need to tackle this debt?
There were a couple. One, I started dating a guy who actually worked for a bank, who made it more accessible for me to talk about and find out about money stuff. And he looked at it and was like, why have you got this kind of debt? And then it was that course that I did, and I owe the NHS, and don't get me wrong, I can see all its faults, but I owe them so much for that course that utterly turned my life around. And from that, and this to me, and this is not an argument like NHS and all this sort of thing, but it shows the benefit of if you invest in someone and support someone to get out of a difficult situation, which is what our benefit system should be, they will pay you back tenfold. And I did, and I have, and I will continue to do so, and I'm proud to have done so. But yeah, without that support, without that kind of thrust I needed to, and the confidence to go out there and just start to rebuild my life. Because I started from the absolute bottom. Bearing in mind, I was a pretty decent sports player when I was little. And I went out while I was on this course into the park, and it was just a bunch of people, like some very strange people. And we just threw a tennis ball in the park, and it was the most wonderful feeling. And it's those little steps. And from that, I'm talking of little steps, another thing that kind of gave me the confidence was do you remember in the olden days, 10 years ago, they had these like ceramic pots. Remember when we had money? Coins and stuff, right? And
I had a tin can, like those ones.
Right,
where they're sealed, you smash them or you
absolutely.
open them, tub.
Exactly. And I had got this little thing, it was quite big, and I was putting stuff in it. I accidentally smashed the thing, which was fine. But I calculated, and that was about 350 quid. And I thought, that was a lot easier than I thought. And it's something so small, but it's like, actually, it's that literal first kind of step to recovery. I think we're so keen to have these quick fix solutions, and we desperately go around on TikTok and money and whatever. And it's like, actually, really sorry to say this, if you want to get out of debt, it's hard. It's going to take effort. If you want to get your back better, you're going to have to put the effort in. It's no quick fix unless you have a relative that dies. Let's hope that doesn't happen. And they leave you an inheritance, or you win the lottery, and look, chances of winning the lottery are not very big. So look, chances are you're going to have to do it yourself. So start small and really invest in yourself, I would say.
You had a debt, not similar, but yeah, you had a 20, 30K of debt.
Yep.
Did anything make you like face up to it, or was that a turning point for you?
How did you get into that sort of debt?
I graduated university and I had a bit of debt from that, like overdrafts and stuff, usual. And then I was working, like selling hotels. Well, I was selling bankrupt hotels. This was like 2010, so it was post-financial crisis. So it was like repossessions of buildings.
Yeah.
And I met a girl, and she basically told me that she was going to inherit a load of money and that she was going to be a millionaire, and that I should quit my job and just live with her. So I was like naive, told you, pretty naive. So I did, I quit my job and I just sat around for a year waiting for this to happen, and then it didn't, and I got straddled with like all of the rent, the bills, the council tax. She just lied basically because she thought it would impress me. So yeah, that realization of like, this is not coming. I've got like 30 grand, 40 grand, whatever of debt. She'd also borrowed money off some of my friends who came forward and were like, oh, she borrowed 7.5 grand off me. And I was like, okay, I'll pay that back as well. I remember speaking to my uncle and he was like, there's no money, Damien. Like, it's never coming. You need to get a job. And it was like someone sucked the air out of the room. You know, it was like, I knew that, but it became very real.
There is no cure.
Yeah.
Sometimes it needs someone to spell it out.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, okay, life starts now. It's like you're born in that moment. And then I had to go get a job. And luckily, where I lived in Manchester, there was like the biggest debt management company in the country. So I went in there and it was just kind of like salesy. At the time, debt management was an unregulated industry and you were basically just offering debt management plans, IVAs, these kind of things. And it was like, I just became like the best salesman in that whole place because I was in more debt than anyone I spoke to. So I empathized with them. I was like, you think your situation's bad? And I just worked, 15-hour days. So I was working there 12 hours a day, got a job washing pots at Pizza Express Saturday, Sunday as well. So I was working
delivery job as well.
Yeah, and I delivered takeaways. So I would like stop working there on a Friday, go deliver takeaways or wash pots there till close and deliver pizzas from midnight till 4. And then I was having a son. And I think there was a catalyst of events that made me get serious. And then I've always been naturally okay academically, but never tried hard because there was never a carrot there. So I did well at school. And then as soon as I got to uni, I got found out because I just got pissed 3 times a week, right? So I kind of had this like, I didn't know what I was good at. And then once you put me in a sales room, I just destroyed every record there. And I was like, okay, I can outwork anyone and I'm pretty good at chatting. And that momentum has just carried me from there and until here, basically. So really, the debt was amazing for me. It just cost me 8 years to pay it all off and dig out of that hole. It's a big lesson to learn. It's like the most valuable lesson I've ever learned, but I would never want my son to go through that. But then I'm also like...
It made you who you are.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, which again goes back to this sort of linear path of what people tell us our lives should be. And I think that's where there's such a space for what you do, because the traditional sort of finance media or traditional sort of financial advice is like, you must get your 3 to 6 month savings and then you should start. Well, people aren't coming at it from the same position. Maybe they're older, maybe they've got kids, maybe they're, in debt. And I always think one thing I cannot take away and thank is my parents for giving me whatever they gave me to have the gumption to turn my life around, because there were plenty of people that I went on that course, the input course, that did not. There was a lot of victim mentality.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all right for you. How's it all right for me? We're in exactly the same situation. The difference is the lessons that I learned growing up, the resilience that my parents taught me, and I cannot, think about how I got out of debt or what I've achieved in my life without owing an enormous amount to my parents. Some good, some bad. Some of the finance lessons my parents gave me, and they won't mind me admitting this, that they were not good. They were not good lessons. And actually one of the really big things I would say to people, try and think about how your parents were with money if you're trying to focus on how you are and change some bad habits. So one of the things that my parents did a lot, because they were very time poor, my mum was a doctor and my dad was a geophysicist living in Norway, but a terrible businessman. I love my dad. He's a genius, but he's a terrible businessman. And we were constantly in debt, remortgaging the house, etc. So they didn't have a lot of money. But what they did have, they would always give us gifts. They gave us gifts because they didn't have time. And so I learned to associate gift giving with saying I love you, saying thank you, saying sorry, which is a really expensive thing to do. And actually saying sorry, saying I love you, saying thank you, giving someone your time is the most precious thing you can do. And I think we're living in a world where what we look like, what we buy, is, I mean, it's always been thus, cultural capital, right? I wear this gold chain, right? What does this say about me, you know? But actually, we're living in a world where there's so much of that you need to start thinking, what are my values around money? Not just the mortgages, the pension. What does this mean for me? Otherwise, you'll just keep spending loads of money on trying to look beautiful, and it won't do anything for you. It'll be empty at the end of the day, and you'll just be poor. So trying to disassociate what you're spending, why you're spending it, with who you are and that sort of thing, I think is such a key thing for breaking any bad habits or having a really healthy relationship with money.
When you were digging your way out of that debt, like, this is a question for you that I've been thinking about. Were you happy? I look back at that time now when I was like on my arse, and all I can think about is that I was probably pretty happy at that point. Happier than I am sometimes now, even. Or I don't know if it's rose-tinted glasses. Do you know what I mean? But
Definitely rose-tinted
No,
glasses.
I think you have a real sense of purpose, and you know exactly what you've got to do, and you can measure that, and like you're getting up every day and driving towards a goal. And
I didn't have the same, right, I'm going to set myself this target. I'm going to get out of debt. I think I took on a job and it was like, ooh, look, if I just pay a little bit more there, that goes. And then I started getting a little investing account. It was a money box, actually. And I was like, ooh, look, what happens if you just like put a couple of pounds there? It was that kind of slow. There wasn't a deliberate target goal. It was just like great. So my sort of journey with that is slightly different. I think it's really hard to say how I felt during that time, because there's often a reason why you're in debt, which is not a happy reason.
Yeah.
In amongst all of the situation I told you, I was in a very unhappy relationship, which just dragged me down. So that in itself, oftentimes you need to escape the thing that you're in before you can even start thinking about getting out of debt or doing anything like that. I mean, that's a really important discussion, which I won't go too much into, but especially in partnerships where there might be some sort of domestic abuse or some sort of, bad treatment, you feel you can't escape because you don't have that money.
Like me. I felt stuck there, trapped by the lie, and also by the thing of like, I've got no money, so I can't leave. I need to stay here to pay off the debt, but it was making it worse. And then actually when I left, that was the moment that really, that was the catalyst, the leaving.
And I will say to anyone who's going through anything similar to any sort of difficult situation, remember the people who will catch you when you fall. These times can feel very dark and very lonely, but actually if you just look up, you will see a lot of people. Imagine it being in a hole and you're trying to desperately dig out. Look up, because there will be people standing at the edge of that hole ready to pull you out. Remember those people. That would be my one big tip. We've always got that person.
The shame was so great though that I almost didn't want to admit to anyone. So I just cut everyone out for years. Mm-hmm. No, I didn't really speak to anyone. Maybe my parents.
You cut me out.
No, I didn't cut you out, but I wasn't honest.
You weren't forthcoming.
Someone was coming to Manchester. I wasn't meeting up with them because I had too much internal shame about my position, to face up to people.
It's hard. This goes back to it's not easy.
So, Mr. Akerele, I hear you are a salesman.
Elite salesman, yes.
One of the best, they say?
I've got a little bit of experience in the game, I could say.
Done a few deals.
I bill.
What would your compliance team say about you?
They would say that I am always nagging them, and that essentially I have beef with compliance. I love the team. Compliance slows down all my deals because every time I get to the finish line, they've got to check documents, KYC, GDPR, and it's just a nightmare. It slows the deal down by like 2-3 weeks.
It's always on both sides as well, isn't it? Sometimes it can be block on the other side.
Exactly.
Well, that's where today's sponsor can help.
Indeed. Vanta helps companies of all sizes get secure and compliant fast, and they stay that way.
They do it by automating compliance with over 35 security and privacy frameworks like SOC 2, ISO 27001, and HIPAA.
Yeah, all of them. And this saves businesses so much time and money.
According to a recent IDC study, Vanta customers save over $500,000 a year in costs.
Not bad.
And they also help you complete security questionnaires up to 5 times faster, which is great because everybody hates filling out forms. If you're a business that needs to prove security and compliance, visit vanta.com/making money to sign up for a completely free demo today. And then, like, to anyone who's in that position, I think there's a tendency to feel behind everyone else. But the impetus and the momentum that you get from getting out of that means that you kind of lap people, which is what I've done. I've got such, my ability to save and invest and all these things that people who haven't been through that period of nothing and real darkness around debt they're kind of a bit more laissez-faire with their finances. I think if you dig yourself out of a hole like that, you're a powerful tool of wealth generation.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of effort to get out of debt. So yeah, if you can do that, but I do feel like there is a part of me I don't now, and I agree with you. I think I have lapped over, and perhaps because of that debt. But I have always thought maybe I'm sort of like 5 years behind in my career. One thing that we see a lot with this world of social media is everybody looks like they've got it together. Nobody would look at your channel and think, if they just joined, this guy has gone through the story you've just explained. And probably the same with me. No one will think, I'm about to go on stage in front of thousands of people, where this woman's been, The fact I'm petrified to do a TikTok video. Mm-hmm. Not petrified to go on stage. I like that. That's fun because it feels live and interactive, but TikTok is slightly different. But you wouldn't think that when you look at someone that you think they've got any kind of hang-ups or oh, wow, we've all got them. Oh, yeah. We've got so many and so many stories. And I think it's so helpful for people to realize that the people who are giving us financial guidance, it's not advice, and writing these articles are as rubbish with money and have their stories as everybody else. I think that's just so nice for people to hear, I think.
Yeah, like I sit here, I talk about investing, I talk about saving, but I have like this weird OCD compulsion around it that is not healthy. And someone like Tremaine is much better at living his life financially in that sense. And one of the biggest things in my journey as a influencer, whatever, is this ability to sit here and say, I am not perfect around money. Because I think the pressure is to feel like you should be able to sit here and go, I got this all figured out. So it's nice for me to be able to sit here and go, I've had real issues and I've probably still got some issues with money.
But I'd argue, what is perfect anyway around money? What is perfect? Is perfect saving 90%? Is perfect earning enough so you can save, you can invest, you can save for your future, but you can also enjoy it? And I think this is something that we forget. And I've spoken already about value around money, but I think we forget to talk about money is there to spend, and to save, but eventually you'll spend it. You work hard for that. Life is there to be enjoyed. I think about the life I've led, and maybe this is part of the debt. I am so aware that we've got one life. Enjoy it. Really, and not having kids. I'm sort of lucky that I'm able to do, not lucky that I haven't got kids, but lucky that I can do things that perhaps my friends who've got kids can't do. So, I've travelled all around the world. I've done some amazing things. I mean, I'm a Derby season ticket holder. What could get better? I mean, who else can do that? But, I think this is really important, that message about what is perfect. But one of my favourite expressions is don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Now, where I first heard this, and I think this is the trap that many people fall in, I don't know about investing enough, therefore I won't start. I don't know, I've got enough money, therefore I won't put any into a pension, those sorts of things. Where it came from is during lockdown, I had about 6 pension pots. So I decided to use Pension B and I brought things together, consolidated my pension. I wrote an article about it. I was very clear in the article saying, certainly if you've got a DB pension, and a final salary pension, really think about doing anything like this. And it was very much a decision that worked for me because I know the sort of person I am. I am a very short-term thinker. I don't think about the future. So I need something in front of me that spells out exactly how much I've got a bit of gamification, if you like. And this is why I think these financial apps at the moment are brilliant. They absolutely work for the way my brain is programmed. So I wrote this article about it. I got hammered, absolutely hammered online, mostly by financial advisors.
Oh, because you didn't look at the guaranteed annuity rates and all of that kind of stuff?
No, I got hammered because Pension B, was a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
But they didn't know which sort of...
Not as expensive as a financial advisor.
Well, quite. Well, therein lies the problem. But okay, but so they argued, but they were saying that the rate was wrong, whatever. And but they really tried to take me down, and someone CC'd a friend of mine in, Tom McPhail, pensions guru.
Who's sat there? He's been there twice.
Yeah.
Right, absolute legend of a guy. And they said, oh, what do you think of this, Tom? And he said, I know Georgie, she's one of the good ones. Thanks, Tom. And he said, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And I thought it showed to me a massive, and don't get me wrong, I'm doing my financial advisor exams, I've met some amazing ones. What ignorance. How dare you, online, having read one article, tell me what I should be doing with my money. They were saying, oh, you should put it into this low SIP, whatever. And I thought, what a rubbish financial advisor you would be if you are basing it, because one of the things they have to do is, make sure they've got all the information about you. You have nothing about me. You know nothing about the way my brain works, whatever. And I think, and I wrote online and I said, if you are, and they can be worth their weight in gold. But if you do think about having a financial advisor, go check them out online. See what they're writing to other people. Anyway, because it was relentless. In the end, I took the article down. It's horrible. The CEO of Pension B, absolutely adore her, got in contact and was like, oh, I'm sorry you're having stick. My editor at the Times was like, yeah, sorry you're getting stick. And I was just like, no. But that really stuck with me. And you know what the funny thing was? I know all these things about, Pension B or any other sort of, I've done the due diligence on it. The reason I did it was because I wanted to bring things together. I wanted to see how much I've got. The stuff I've got in there now is 5 or 6 times more than what I started with. I don't think, had I had that visualization, put everything together to understand what I needed to, save, I would be anywhere near that now. So actually it worked for me, Behavioural Economics 101, it really worked for me in terms of my pension savings. Great. Maybe in the future I will really think about whether I, get a manager and think about it more seriously like that. But right now it worked. Right then it worked for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've been critical of SJP before because of high fees and poor performing funds. My mom, and my stepdad, Ray, legend, he will be listening. They use SJP and they continue to use SJP. And my mom said to me one day, I would never have invested without them. So you're critical of them and you say, oh, you should have done this or you should have done that. But they got me to an early retirement. So I love them and I'm loyal because she would have invested in an index fund or, I see it all the time. The cash ISA cap that was rumoured, the amount of people that go, just put it in a money market fund inside of a stocks and shares ISA. It's like, people don't even know how to open a stocks and shares ISA. And there's always a better strategy, right? But it's perfect. It's the enemy of the good enough for these people, right?
Yeah. Right? Absolutely. There's always a better way of doing something. There'll always probably be a better way of doing something. But if what you've been doing has got you to where you are now and you're reasonably happy with where you are now, that doesn't mean you should stop. On the contrary, the best advice I ever got when it comes to my pension was someone said to me when I first did my show, just pick a SIP. You can start learning about it later. Go for a low fee, self-invested personal pension, start putting money in, and when you get more engaged, then you can start thinking about, where you want to put things. And I think that's the key. And I think talking about ISAs, what the government should be doing is not looking at, shall we reduce this? Because it's not off the table yet. I mean, it's in the spring statement.
She said she's going to continue to review
that
it.
They're looking at it. What they should do is just have one ISA, which is so much more simplified. People can save into cash there. And you know what? They can also look at the stocks and shares. And little by little, when your confidence grows, I'm just going to put a little bit over here, put a little bit over here. Wouldn't that be so much better than this sort of confusing people, how much you can put in, etc.? Because I think that was the most... I just think that was such a silly way to think about getting people to invest. It's just lower a limit of an ISA.
Yeah, it's all stick. And it's...
But it's about knowledge.
Yeah.
People aren't doing it because they're frightened of the risk warnings.
It's a tax grab.
Yeah,
it's a tax grab in disguise because she's just like, oh, I could get tax on that 300 billion. Because those people are just going to stick it in savings accounts and get rinsed on.
Well, exactly. So I couldn't really work out what the play was. Was this just we're going to get more savings
I think she's
tax?
like, we're just going to get the tax.
Either way, I think any of this sort of tinkering around with ISAs, pensions, all that sort of stuff, just I think destroys people's already quite limited trust in sort of
long-term savings products.
Exactly.
And it gives a precedent for future governments to be like, well, we'll tinker with the ISAs because they can be tinkered with. Let's look at pensions, the fear that they've generated around pensions of all sorts, state and private, that they mess with the rules and they move the goalposts. And you're asking people to commit for 30 years into a product that they don't know what the rules are going to be next year.
Yeah.
ISAs have become a preferred investment product for people's retirements because they have certainty. As soon as you mess with that, you break that sanctity, basically. And I think she doesn't realise that.
I mean, ISAs, they've been around for what, 25 years now, I think?
Yeah.
25, 26 years. Actually, up until maybe sort of 15 years ago, they did have different limits in them. That didn't work. And so for some reason, they're bringing it back now. So it's not like it stayed the same throughout. But I do think that just tinkering generally with things, housing market proposals are just such a key one. All of these new ideas, getting people onto the property ladder, frighten me because I just think all you're doing is stoking house prices, make it even harder for people to get on.
Yeah. It's always on the demand side. It's always like, we'll make it easier for people to pay more for their houses by increasing deposits or increasing the multipliers of debt. It's never, we'll build some more homes and actually
just let this market settle naturally.
Yeah.
But
or get rid of taxes that prevent movement, like stamp duty, that keep old people locked in houses that are 5 times too big for them.
Absolutely.
Because they're just like, why would I pay 50 grand in tax to move or whatever, you know?
Absolutely. There's plenty of things that people can do, and there's people that are far more qualified than me, but I do think one thing they need to start looking at is the tax system. The point of paying taxes, and I said it earlier, I intimated earlier, I'm very proud to pay tax into a system that helped me. But it's getting to a point where I think people are confused as to what they're actually paying for. It doesn't feel fair, especially when you see big corporations, not paying their dues. Yeah. All of these things.
It doesn't feel like good value for money, does it? And I think if they need to provide value for money. And I think to say to everyone, oh, it's really crap, so we need more tax, there's just no confidence that money will be deployed effectively because the tax rate burden's gone up over the last 15 years and it's all got shitter. So,
quite, exactly. And I think, you look around, just anyone driving on the roads, look at the potholes or with your bins overflowing of a week. It does feel, doesn't it? Very gloomy, the UK at the moment.
I worry though that how much of it is vibes, in sense of if everyone says it's crap, do we all start to believe it? And if everyone said it's actually okay, would we all be like, oh yeah, this is okay? Because day to day, my life hasn't changed that much. Not to the point where I'm getting like mugged in the streets or anything,
Well, you did just get punched. You did get punched in the street.
Yeah, I mean, I probably deserved it. I'm joking. No, I did get punched in the street by a random stranger.
Oh, right.
But no.
They were having a bad day.
Yeah. But what I mean is,
I agree with you.
There's loads of reasons it is bad, and I don't want to sit here and blow them all away. But I also wonder if a lot of it is narrative, and if we change the narrative, would we feel better?
I don't want to get political. This is not a political podcast. But I do think, rewind, had Labour come in and they were on a crest of a wave, right? Even people that voted for or would normally vote for Conservative, I think would have thought, look, at least there's change. We've had 14 years of the same old. The taxes were record levels, and that's under the Conservatives. So, there was optimism, right? Nobody wanted them to fail. No. And that they came in with, there's this big black hole and we're all doomed. And the markets are going, what? I think they were quite happily going, the UK is not in a bad situation,
We start telling everyone we're in a terrible situation.
Exactly. It's like if anything, if you're going for a job or something, and I think women are particularly bad at this, go, oh yeah, I'm no good at this. No. Don't tell people that you're no good.
Tell them you're the best.
Figure it out when
later
you're there.
on.
Exactly.
Fake it till you make it.
And I think, because I'm old enough to remember when Tony Blair came in. I was young, but I do remember it was cool Britannia. I mean, Oasis at the moment, very of the time at the moment. But, there was a real cool vibe in the air. And I think, I'm not Pollyanna-ish here. Like, I appreciate this, there's stuff going on.
So I've got to ask, what is
Pollyanna-ish. Oh, so it's like thinking everything's amazing. Pollyanna. I think it's an American sort of thing. I don't know, but it's just a phrase.
Cool word.
Well, yeah. So it just means that everything's amazing.
Like rose-tinted glasses. Yeah,
yes, exactly. I trust me, I don't think that, but I do think I'm a big fan of this country. There is so much good about the UK that, yes, financially things aren't great, but those things are transient. We're resilient, we'll get through this. We always do.
Keep a stiff upper lip, we'll be all right.
Yeah, exactly.
But instead we're like, everything's falling apart. No, that's not what we do.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of that narrative. I don't want to be.
We moan, like,
We
that's bad,
moan.
like,
Everyone has a moan, but like you still keep a stiff upper lip.
Use that moaning, but like make a joke out of it, like.
Be feeling me up here with your legs.
Sorry, I'm kidding.
No,
that's
it's him.
me.
Oh, it's you.
I'm playing footsie with David. No, I just got a big ass cramp in my leg. Happens when you're such a massive unit. Like sometimes you cramp up. I have a quick question on you for debt. When you were in debt, both of you, I guess, did you learn any, do you have any lessons you can tell people? And for me, when I had student loan debt, not that big, but I still invested. So do you think...
Which is really interesting.
Well, yeah, a lot of people say don't
really
invest when you're in debt, clear the debt first. But I'm made quite a lot of money investing while in debt. So I'm like, wow, I wouldn't have made that money if I just put it all into debt. I would have just,
really?
It would be a sunk
You need
cost.
a bit of positivity in your life.
I'm like,
Getting
I made
to
some money
zero
here.
is depressing.
I'm the same as you. Like, I'm back, forward, topsy-turvy. I was, before I'd made that, 3 to 6 months savings, I was investing as well,
same.
etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you do. You need something that's like a bit...
It feels like progress.
Dopamine hit.
Yeah,
exactly.
dopamine progress.
Then I
makes you
am
feel
moving
good.
forward, exactly, rather than I'm just getting to standing still.
Getting to zero, getting back to zero. And I'm like, a year later, I'm on zero.
The thing that really helped is zero credit cards.
I preach that.
0% interest credit cards. That really helped. And this goes to, if you are thinking of, investing or saving, or, you're making that decision between saving or paying off debt, well, think about how much you're paying in interest, because you probably won't get that in a savings account. Some of the interest rates are enormous. But once I managed to shift it over, and be careful about hard checks for your credit scores, etc. If you are looking to apply for lots of different credit cards at the same time, it can affect your credit rating. There are soft checks that you can do, certainly things like Money Saving Expert. And not everyone will get that rate. And sometimes you'll have to pay a fee. But that really was a game changer, because finally I could stop paying off just stupid interest, which is just money to the banks.
Yeah.
And I say to you, they don't need your money. You need your money. Stop giving banks your money.
Yeah, they got enough.
Exactly. And so I would say that was a really big game changer for me. And then once I paid it off, I couldn't touch a credit card for about 5 years. I now have one, and I've got this sort of, pay it back automatically every month. But yeah, for a good fair few years, I was like, I spend what I have. If I have a car, I buy it outright.
Yeah, and that's what I do.
Yes, it's a rubbish Vauxhall Mocha. Yeah, it's not. Do
you have an overdraft?
Nope.
Yeah.
I still don't touch credit cards.
Yeah, I don't trust credit cards.
I don't need the
have an
points.
overdraft.
I don't need the points, So
I've got an Avios, right? I've got about 250,000, 60,000, 70,000 Avios points. Thanks. It's a lot of points, right? I don't know what to do with them.
Do you book a BA flight? Is that what it is?
Oh, if you want to...
but you do it at midnight in a full moon solstice, and
you
you've got to pray
can't
to
come
the
back
gods.
for 8 months, right? You want to fly, I don't know, let's say to Australia. Great. You can fly out on the most random time in May 3 years from now, and then about 10 years after that, you can actually get a return. I was like, this is rubbish.
Yeah,
so really think about, I'm now in a situation where I'm like, do I leave you? I feel naive. I paid for this credit card, and it does give me good BA access to lounges and all that. But I'm like, I think I should break up with
get rid.
Yeah. What am I using it for?
Yeah. Yeah. What's most annoying about all of that is that they basically slap a 3%. The transaction fee that they take at the till pays for everyone to have rewards. So all the credit card people are like, oh, I get rewards. Whereas if we just stopped everything in the shops, it'd probably be cheaper. In America, it's even worse, isn't it?
So I don't need to use it. So that's it. I've made the decision. It's over.
We're breaking up.
It is over. It took me 18 years, I think, to get it to break up with my current account. It's the longest relationship I've ever had. It wasn't hard. It was actually really easy. If you want to switch accounts, it took 7 days.
Yeah, and I think it's okay as an adult to say I'm no good with credit cards. You know, I've got loads of money invested. I'm wealthy by many definitions. I can't be trusted with a credit
Know
card.
thyself.
Yeah.
Know thyself. Yeah. Know
I'll
how
spend
you
that on
are
a
with
night
money.
out. Like I will. I'll get drunk
I did
and
that.
buy
I spent
everyone
it on holiday, the
buy
whole credit card.
Buy the
ran.
whole bar of zombies and then wake up the next day and I'm like, fuck.
And it was on my last 2 days. I spent all my money on my credit card. Oh, took it out the cash machine.
Oh, no.
Took money out the cash machine on holiday. This is how naive I was. This little 20,
This last
20
week.
23-year-old.
He's got
It was
that
just-
money clip. Well, look, he's got it here. He's got it here just so he can flex.
Yeah.
Took that out on
I
the
took it
Amex.
out of the credit card just so I could bring it on the podcast and flex.
50. I don't think I've seen
we did
one.
an episode on gold, so I was bringing all my gold.
That was so funny.
It's got the king on it.
Wow.
Wow.
Do you still? I remember you used to have to.
Dave was like, it's character.
You used to have to
did that?
wipe it to check it was real. Like when I worked at Revolution in wherever I worked.
Oh, like
Vodka Bar.
Vodka
Revs to
Revolution,
keep
Red to
vodka
keep
Revs.
or vodka
Where I
Revs.
lasted 4 weeks, and when someone said to me, "Can you clean up the vomit in the women's toilet?" I was like, "This is not for me."
I met the owners of Revs, the brand, the two mates, and they were crazy.
Yeah.
One come in with a sledgehammer and knocked a hole in the wall. Like I was selling properties, and he was like, "Is the bare brick behind that?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm not sure." And he's like, "Smack!" And I was like, "What have you done?" He's just sticking his hand in the wall. Yeah, and I was like,
Wow.
"Mate, you're gonna have to buy it now." You just knocked a hole in the wall. They bought it.
Right.
Revs to Cuba in Manchester.
Oh, they put a hole in that
it
wall.
used to be called Squares, and it was a dive of a bar. But yeah,
Still going.
yeah, Revs to
Yeah.
Cuba is. Yeah, Revs to Cuba is really popular.
Great spot.
I know the actual
Revolution.
vodka Revs. That's
Yeah.
pretty done, isn't it?
Is it?
I think they're struggling with that.
Don't know. I haven't had vodka in a long time.
No. What's your typical choice nowadays?
I love a beer. A beer or a wine. I think spirits. I need my brain cells. You know, at this age.
Speaking of which, should we bust out?
I was gonna say, is
a
it
little
time for
fizz?
Prosecco?
A little Prosecco.
A little
yeah,
Prosecco.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for that and just being so honest and like being real.
Yeah.
I think people see one side of you, which is, you know, I think this is a different side of you,
Bitch.
hopefully.
So, Damo, what do you think about the chat with Georgie? You guys seem like kindred spirits.
I like anyone that can sit there and own the fact that they've been crap about stuff at times and they're still on a journey of development. I thought it was really good. She mentioned Tom McPhail as part of that when she got, you know, rinsed online. It seemed like it really touched a nerve or it hit a spot at the time. And Tom McPhail came out and defended her. And we've interviewed Tom McPhail twice. So we'll put both of those episodes here because I think they're some of the best content we've ever made around pensions and sorting out your pensions.